Welcome to the Zen Superman podcast. This episode is for and about men, dads, because I often get asked, and how about the guys? You keep talking about moms and how they should heal their anger and pain and stress, but how about the dads? So I am super excited to present you Sonny, one of our male clients inside the Zen Superdad program. So after having been in the program for 3-4 months, Sonny accepted my invitation to come and talk about his experience. And I believe we just finished that chat and I still have goosebumps. So I believe this interview, this chat with him has the power to be mind-blowing, eye-opening ray of hope for those men who feel not heard and totally misunderstood and lost in the middle of their feeling numb, not feeling any emotions, cutting them off, numbing them out. Maybe this is just the thing that you need to hear. Maybe this is the man you need to not just listen to, but watch. If you've been listening to this podcast episode on some podcast platform and you've never actually seen it, I would invite you to join us over on YouTube and to watch this episode because you need to see his body language. It is powerful. So, without any further ado, here's Sonny. Hi, Supermom or Superdad. Alena here, your mommy tantrum specialist and the founder of the Zen Supermom system. And me and my team have helped hundreds of moms and dads start setting healthy boundaries with calm. And this is the first parenting podcast that is not about your kids, that shows you why none of the parenting techniques helped you stop yelling at your kids and how to control your emotions from jumping out so that you can be the safe, loving parent you wish you had growing up. This is the Zen Superman podcast. Welcome to the Zen Superman podcast and welcome Sonny, our first, Sonny. I keep seeing Sonny, but your name is pronounced as Sonny, right?
Sure.
That's it. I always stumble upon that. Sonny as the sunny, shiny, happy that I always make fun of. Well, Sonny is the first male client who agreed to come up on the podcast with me. So, Sonny, I really appreciate you because I bet it takes a lot of freaking courage to come up and talk about how not perfect you used to be and how all that changed throughout the work that you were doing. So I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. So maybe that's a good place to start. Why would you even consider joining a podcast and talking about your private life in a way? Why would you want to do that?
I after going through the program, I now feel compelled to tell everyone that I know basically how well it's gone. And I think people that know me I'm not going to have to tell them, they're going to notice. If I rewind the clock even 4 months ago, maybe, I clearly remember moments where my wife would be crying and there'd be something that was affecting her badly. And I can see myself sitting on the edge of the bed, literally not knowing what to do and not knowing how to react and wanting to help, but feeling this mental block and this block in my body. And just knowing that I had the will, I just didn't have the skill. I knew there was something in me that could feel the way I wanted to, and I couldn't unlock it. And it was similar with my children. Evenings and bedtimes were particularly bad. It was me needing to control the situation and just needing them to stay on the bed, go to sleep so that daddy can rest. That was like my only my only time off kind of thing.
They're so lucky to have you. Can we just say, if that's okay, how many children and how old they are so
Sure.
that those who are listening, they could start like connecting the dots?
Okay, when I started, my two boys were 4 and 6. They're now 5 and 7, so they've just changed over. But yeah, they're 2 years apart, and yeah, live
Yeah.
at home with me and my wife.
Yeah. And sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about the bedtimes, and that was like a challenge for you because you just wanted, like, daddy needs to rest. So you
Mm.
boys go to bed and basically leave me alone.
Yeah, what I can now see is how easily I was triggered. Um, it was just trying to control the situation and them not listening to me because I was trying the wrong approach, I guess, but also just them not seeing me. But yeah, it was just that they seemed to be doing the opposite to what I was saying, but I now realize why that was the case.
Now you know why. Can we just stay
Yeah,
there a little bit? What is it, if
sure.
anything? Did you try anything before, like to get help and to change that? Or,
Hmm. Yeah, I tried a little bit of talking therapy and it helped to some extent. The idea is if you're going to go upstairs, have in mind that you lead with love, and that's what you're trying to give, which was very good advice for my head, but it didn't really help in my body. Um, and other things I tried, just general parenting techniques of having a set time. If they do this, try this. It was all very specific to the situation, and so they would always throw up a situation I wasn't ready for, and then they would somehow bypass it, and I'd be like, "Ah, oh, I'm back to square one."
they're
Typical, you
smarter
know.
than these parenting techniques, right? They managed to find a
Yeah,
loophole.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's natural, and that's how I was when I was a kid. But it's much, much harder when you're, yeah, well, it used to be much harder, put it that way.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate you for not giving up, because then there was the opportunity where we met.
Mm,
And what was it at the beginning that gave you the hope to even consider that, just like, maybe, what if this is going to
mm.
help? What was it that was different?
Two things. The first is my wife has been through the program, and so I saw big change in her. And so that was very, very helpful to see. That gave me that gave me the logic route to follow, that logically she's followed this and it's worked. She's still working, obviously. But the second thing was the idea that it could be trauma that was causing this was really intriguing to me. Because all the other therapies I tried, it was just if you have a thought, change the thought or get rid of the thought. And I just knew that that wasn't solving the issue. I know that there's something inside me that wants to feel and wants to give out and wants to, I always say, show up in the right way or present in the right way. I knew there was something in me. And so when we were talking about trauma informed therapy, it was the first daddy tantrum. Yeah, the
The
first one
daddy
of those that
tantrum
I came
training.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, the first one of those I came to. And it was eye opening because even then you used one small example and it got me thinking, okay, there's something to this. So it was curiosity, but also I tried a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, and they didn't work before. So what you were mentioning is that you realized there was something from your childhood that was showing up. So
Mm,
go as deep or share as much as you want, up to you. But could you talk about the child? Like, what was the connection? Like,
okay.
that was still showing up today with your boys when they were not listening. What is it that you find? How was that connected specifically for you?
Okay. So working with Victor in the one-to-one sessions, we uncovered a lot and went really, really deep, but it wasn't scary. He conducted me through it really kindly. That's the first thing I want to say. It felt it felt very safe. Um, but what it revealed for me that was that I never really I never thought for myself and I never stood on my own 2 feet. I'm going to say it now, and whether she sees this or not, I'm not too bothered. But my mother was the core um, sort of issue in my life. Um, And I know now I don't blame her after going through the course. I've come to this understanding that she was just giving what she had received. And at no point did she realize she could be any different. Whereas this is where it stops. So my wife and I realized we can do something different. But specifically, it was that she always told me that, well, I will say it, I was told I was unwanted, put it that way. So unplanned and unwanted. Unplanned is one thing, but unwanted was something completely different. That was hard to hear, obviously. And then my life was being told that I was never good enough and that you only rest when you're ill. So that led to my teenage years being a lot of headaches and things so that I could stay in bed. And that was like a ticket to freedom. Like I could just stay there and no one would ask any questions. And actually, when I met Christy, my wife, when we were late teens, she kind of said, "Are you sure about this?" She got me to start questioning. But basically, it was that. It was this: you're not good enough. My dad came from a background where men don't cry. Absolutely not. And so if that happened, I was told off. Um, and obviously, I see the error in that now. But it led me to not alcoholism. I was never drunk, but it led to a reliance on alcohol. It led to some self harm, and it just led to me trying to express emotion in really damaging ways. I knew that there was something I needed to express, but it had been repressed by the way my mum had brought me up, essentially. So
Yep.
that's what I would say.
Fantastic awareness. And also, I appreciate how eloquently you put it, because I bet like hearing this will be such a validation for so many men out there who might be struggling silently, feeling there's
Mm.
something wrong with me and nobody can understand. They will feel so heard by you right now. Like I'm getting goosebumps because I'm sure this is going to resonate. So I appreciate you so much for having the courage and being so brave to actually be vulnerable enough to open up and talk about things like self-harm, not alcoholism, but dependence on alcohol.
Mm.
Even like going into getting yourself physically sick basically, just so that you
Yeah.
can avoid like go around your own parents' patterns, and even having the awareness that you're not blaming them for anything, that you're able to look back with compassion and say, well, they did the best they could with what they knew. Obviously I want to do better for my kids, and this is where
Yeah.
I am right now, doing it and healing it. So big round of applause for you, Sonny. Excellent.
Yeah.
I appreciate you mentioning Victor. So Victor is our Zen Superdad trauma coach who's working with all the men inside the program. So he is obviously a big part of that.
Mm.
What would you say that apart from the one-on-one sessions that helped you make the dots with your childhood and connect that, was there anything else that was like a light bulb moment or that was essential for you?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, definitely. So the first the I would say that with the one-on-one sessions, I had to be willing to let go of any reservations. I just had to be open to it. And then I would say the magic happened, but it's not anything magical. It's just the awareness comes and your body keeps the score. And so it was just tapping into that. Um, the specific things that helped was the PQ reps, which we talk about all the time. So getting space for your mind just for a few seconds, just to slow down. And then you can catch the thoughts, you can catch the feelings. But the single biggest thing that helped me within your mental fitness program was and I don't know how much I'm allowed to give away, but there's I'm trying to think how you'd phrase it, but the exercise on empathy. And I've got a picture here of myself, even
Oh,
right here.
you do.
This is little me.
Oh,
Oh,
adorable. Yeah.
and so with the empathy exercise, it took me a while, but once I clicked into that, that was a massive, massive turning point because all of a sudden it unlocked something in me where I was seeing everyone around me, especially the people that I care about. I was seeing them in a different way. I was seeing them with all of their baggage, if you want to call that, up until this point. And I was seeing my children for just who they are, rather than who I thought they should be. And that was the single biggest part of this whole puzzle for me. That I look at people differently. I can feel, well, I'm starting to feel what they're feeling. I don't get it right all the time, as my wife will tell you. But I'm kind of falling forwards imperfectly going forward. And that was the single biggest thing, along with just the consistent mental fitness and feedback on the Facebook group. Knowing that all my questions were answered, but also knowing that you yourself looks at every single post that I put on Facebook meant that there was accountability, which I like as a man. And there was also that someone was watching and would give me feedback and little pointers. They were the biggest things.
Fantastic. Let me just help anybody who's like, wait, what? Peak your reps, mental fitness. Like, what the heck are you talking about? Let me just back up a little bit to give them, to orientate them. How we help clean up those unhelpful patterns that we realize now, thanks to the awareness, it's going back to the childhood, is first by healing the past in those one-on-one sessions. So you did it with Victor, our Zen Superdad coach. And in parallel, everybody who joins Zen Supermom or Zen Superdad program is engaged in mental fitness practice, which is for rewiring your brain, for learning you what your parents couldn't teach you because they didn't know how. And what I love hearing from you is that the empathy was one of the biggest chunks, because indeed your parents couldn't show you how to feel empathy for other people because they didn't teach you how to feel empathy for yourself, that you were worthy, that your feelings were valid, and they didn't make you feel heard and seen. They were all about their stuff, just like you then started repeating that pattern with your sons. So, wow. Well done. There's a lot of talk about empathy and compassion and unconditional love and self-love out there. And it's just like, so often it feels like empty, big buzzwords. What I love seeing, even if I would turn down the sound on my computer right now, just seeing your energy when you speak about it, it's just like, that's filling my cup. This is exactly why I'm doing what I do. This is amazing. And I wish just like every man on the planet could experience and feel what you feel right now, what you've opened up for yourself. And how amazing, especially given that you have 2 boys, that you will be able to be this role model for them now. So let's take it forward. How are you different, Dad, now?
That was the motivation, as well as wanting to feel more human. It was wanting them to be well-adjusted, emotionally competent humans, because my wife was doing a great job. But if you've got 2 parents that can show you the way, then you stand a very good chance. So what was the question? What differences have they seen in me?
What is different? And let's talk about it, because at the beginning you mentioned the bedtime routine. So how does your bedtime routine feel like now?
Yeah, better, easier. One practical thing was we talk about natural consequences in the program. So it's it's everyone having their boundary and their safe space. And there's just more of a two-way communication, which is obviously easier now that they're slightly older. But there's this two-way street of, this is what I would like you to do. This is what I expect. Is that okay? And this is before bedtime. And then how can I make bedtime nicer for you? What would you like bedtime to be like? And how can we make it enjoyable? And then also just a slight change in my mind is I still use the evenings to rest because I've got a fairly physical job. But it used to be really, really important to me to get X amount of time resting. But now if things take an extra 5-10 minutes, does it really matter? Because I can look forward using the navigate, I'm dropping more keywords, but I can look forward 20 years from now when my children are grown. And what I remember from my childhood bedtime will be completely different to what they remember from their childhood bedtime. they will remember mummy and daddy loved them. Mummy and daddy read them bedtime stories of their choice, and mummy and daddy were there for them. And that's the big difference. Not daddy was shouting because I wouldn't stay on my pillow, and daddy was annoyed because I wanted some water, and daddy wasn't listening to me, and daddy was erupting. It was that's the big difference, is just everyone gets something to say in the thing, but also I just see them for little people now. Before I was just not really seeing them, and I see their amazing little quirks. Like Luca, my youngest, will bedtime seems to be when he wants to tell me everything about his day, and I used to get so annoyed because this is my rest time, but now I'm just listening, and he's given me his little heart, and it's amazing.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so that's the difference. I'm able to see them for who they are,
Beautiful.
and that's a massive gift I've been given and unlocked.
That's a massive gift they are getting now from you for their children.
Mhm.
This is how we flip from generational trauma into a generational blessing.
Mm.
How amazing is that? Yeah, beautiful. And what you mentioned there was one of the techniques we are using after we rewire the brain from the stress and trauma into the bigger picture. Because whenever we are, just a side note for those who don't know, and this is one of the mental fitness specifics, because whenever the brain is triggered and goes into the negative loop and downward spiral of stress, anxiety, resentment, and trying to grab onto control, you're going down. It's taking you down. And usually, what helps, one of the techniques after we teach you to stop that, shut that noise down, is to take the helicopter up and look at the bigger picture. Because if you're too much zoomed in, it feels like it's going to take forever. You take the helicopter, after you calm down, you're able to see the bigger picture and what is it that really matters in the long run, not just in this sliver of the next 5 minutes. So this is exactly what you're doing now. And not only you understand the theory, you're able to apply it in the moment, in the middle of the heat, when you are already tired in the middle of the day. So bravo. Very good. You mentioned Christy, your wife, at the beginning as well. That's how it started, that she would cry in bed and you didn't know how to help her, what to say. How did that change? How did your relationship change?
Um, so, well, we had one instance last night, um, where she doesn't really like cooking, and so when she does a meal, it takes her full concentration, and if something goes wrong in that meal, it usually makes her feel really bad. Like, so she struggles with that at times. And last night I could see the way it was going, and unfortunately it did end up that way. And then she ran upstairs and she was on the bed and she was crying. Um, Previously it would have been right. I'll just make the dinner because that's the practical thing to do. That's what the man does. The man will provide. The wife will cry, but she'll be okay. She'll work her way through it. But instead, it was a recognition that she's hurting, that probably that's tied in with some of her trauma from the past. And I went up and I tried to hug her at that point, but she said, no, that's not what I need right now. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go and sort out the dinner. I will do the practical thing. I had to go to a shop. I bought her flowers. I brought them back. And at that point, that was then the moment for me to say, the reason I wanted to hug you was because I was feeling this. I was feeling that you were in pain. And now's the moment where hopefully you can receive the way I'm trying to give you love. Um, but I'm just slightly more in tune with. It used to be she would then say, I don't want a hug right now, and I would immediately go to rejection.
Yeah.
Like immediately, like, wow, that's a personal rejection. Why on earth did I bother? Whereas now I can see I can see the person of Christy, not the issue, not the situation, not the problem. And that's the biggest change. And that's incredible for both of us. And I'm not looking for her feedback, but I'm sure she will notice. And she has already told me, but I'm sure as things go on, I'll more intrinsically just know how to be there for her. and I can already feel a difference. It's gone from logic to emotion, and I can feel that, and it makes me feel a bit kind of shaky and funny when I when I say it out loud, because I'm not used to feeling these things. It's weird, but it's lovely weird.
Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I bet if there are any women listening right now, they're like, oh my goodness, I wish my husband would at least like 5% of this. Like, this is so amazing. Let's just enjoy that. So fantastic. This is wonderful. That's what the open communication is about, right? Once we
Mm,
stop taking things personally because our own trauma, insecurities, and pain is triggered, and we are reminded of it in communication with a loved one, once that is healed and is not standing in the way, then there is really nothing blocking that heart to heart communication. And yes, everybody wants to be loved or comforted in a different way. And you can see that now and not just theoretically understand it by reading some psychology books, but you can feel it. And
yeah.
you're able to apply it in the middle of the moment. Like, this is what a lot of you now listening to us, watching us, what a lot of you are struggling right now. In theory, maybe, yes, you've heard about it. This is the ideal in communication, not just with the kids, but with your partners. But how the heck do you do it in the middle of the moment when you're feeling triggered? So this is the proof. Thank you so much, Sonny, for being able to talk about it so beautifully, so openly, in so many like specific examples, so that people get the proof that it's possible. Very nice. I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I would be curious, what would you tell your best friend if you would know they have been suffering the way that you have been before? What would be your message for them, as if he or she was listening right now?
Mm. I would say that if they look long enough and hard enough inside themselves, that they know they have the intelligence, the self fortitude, and the ability to do something about the way they're feeling and the way their life is at the moment. But they may not have they need to be signposted, basically. Like, before, when I was just muddling through, I knew that I could do something about this. I knew I was intelligent enough, and I knew I was an emotional human, and I knew that I was numbing things. It was trapped inside me. And so I would say to them, go to the tantrum daddy tantrum training, just give it a try, see what happens in that first little moment. And if they're in a position where they want to change how they feel, because some people simply aren't, unfortunately, but at the moment where they are ready to do something about it, then my best friend would hopefully see the difference in me. And I would just encourage anyone to, especially if they have children, to just think about not only themselves, but think about the legacy you want to leave for your children and the way you want your children to be able to regulate themselves emotionally. And what bigger gift could you give than them having a parent who sees them and hears them and cares for them like you should have been? And it's possible. It took a lot of hard work, but it shouldn't scare you, hard work, because I know men like things logically, and I did to start with. And so there was a lot of logic that you could follow. Why do the PQ reps work and the science behind it? So you've got the logic part. And then with the one-on-one sessions, you're trusting someone to guide you. And it's amazing if you let the process happen, basically. It wasn't hard, is what I would say. There were bits of it that I didn't get straight away and I've had to keep going to. But I have to drop in the analogy because men should love this. But the analogy you use about the Matrix,
Go
So
ahead, yeah.
I have to
That was
because
an intuitive, let me frame it. That was
yeah,
in one
please.
of the group calls we had. We were talking about some specific problems, and I just came out with this analogy that landed with everybody. So, yeah, go ahead, share.
Yeah, the idea is that you are Neo, you are the one in the Matrix, but people are firing bullets at you. Your children are not listening to you. Your wife thinks you're the Iceman, as I was called. You know, no feelings, no emotions, but it's slightly different now. But all these bullets are flying at you, and you're able to slow down time. You can see them coming at you, and what's more, you can dodge them. And you can see why someone's throwing that accusation at you. You can see where it's coming from in them, and you realize that actually it's not a bullet. It's someone saying, you know, you're not hearing me, Daddy, or you know, I need something right now, and you can dodge it, and you can just walk around, and you can see the whole thing, and that's what's been opened up to me is this seeing things as they're happening and the ability to not react or choose not to react. And hopefully, in time, I'll be reacting in the right way. So sometimes I'm still triggered now and again, but it's just there's time, and I've made this space between what someone would do to me and the way I react, and that's the biggest thing. Is now I can show up and I can feel a reaction rather than just my head going, no, I don't like that. And so that analogy, yeah, that really works for me as a man.
Very good. I'm going to build it inside the program, yes. Because you were not the only one for whom the light bulb went like, boop. Oh, okay, now I get it. And this is actually, you're right, because this lines up, connects with what I have been emphasizing and highlighting for everybody to hear, that it's, yes, there's theory, yes, there's brain science explaining why things are working. There's trauma theory, science and science of that. But also there are all these practical applications, and this is how you got it and how you were able to implement it so that you are able to do it in the heat of the moment. You're able to become the Neo from Matrix and slow down time, and that's how you can get in between and intervene and do not get triggered as you would have previously done. Well done. Thank you for sharing this this analogy. Happy it landed. I will make a note. I will add it inside the program as well. Sonny, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you about and you felt like I need everybody to hear it? Check. Not that you would have to, like you shared already so much. Like this is fantastic.
Yeah. I think the one thing I would say is I was ready for change, and I hadn't found the right thing to help me. I wasn't happy, and my life was going in a certain direction, and it just wasn't. I didn't like the way it was going. I could see that I was damaging my children, essentially. That's what it comes down to. I could see that my wife was emotionally neglected, even though I wanted to be there for her. And I could see my children were being damaged the same way I was. And so, for anyone who's feeling desperate to do something about that, it wasn't as hard as it sounds, to be honest. You know, and quite a short time span has been a pretty, monumental shift in me. I've gone for 35 years thinking I do not have feelings. I even got myself a sort of diagnosis of something called alexithymia, which is it's Greek for no word for feelings. So I felt as though I had no way of describing my feelings. I didn't feel things. I had convinced myself of that, but at the same time, I knew it wasn't true. And so, for anyone who feels like, oh, I just don't feel things, we do. We're human. This is in us. And once it's unlocked, my life has become it has become colorful. It was very black and white before. And yeah, that's all I'd say. If anyone's feeling like they what's the point? Like, what have you got to lose by trying? And I'm not just sat here being told to say things. These are coming from my heart now, not my head. That's essentially it. This is now, I'm still working and it's going to get better and better because I'm putting the work in, but my reactions are now coming from my heart, not my head. That's essentially it. And just anyone who's feeling like things are going down a bad path, do something about it. And this
So
helped
powerful.
me massively.
Beautiful. It's so powerful, Sonny. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you for adding. By the way, if there are any like cynical skeptics right now listening, like, yeah, how much did you
Mm.
pay him to say that? I hope it was clearly like
Mm.
visible that none of us was reading any scripts here and that everything that you were sharing was coming from heart. And it is hard to believe even when you say that like that's what you were thinking about yourself for 35 years, that
Mm.
you're someone who does not have word for feelings, as is not capable of feeling any emotions. Now hearing you talk about it, like that sounds even hard to believe that that's who you used
Yeah,
to be, right? So
it's
I
mad.
really
Yeah.
appreciate you, Sonny. Yeah, what a fantastic testimony of how far you have come. And that's been just the first, what, 3 months, 4 months,
Mm.
not even. So I cannot wait to hear and like keep checking with you how it's going with
Yeah.
you, your family, your marriage, because like it's perfectly imperfect. There is no linear path, but it is going to continue in the upward direction. So, how amazing is that? I'm so excited for you.
Me too. And extremely grateful.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for all of your time, your energy, and your strength in showing up here and sharing so openly with everybody. I really appreciate you. And please, anybody who is watching or listening to this episode at any platform, there's always a way how you can reach us back and let us know your feedback. And if there is any appreciation or feedback you have for Sonny, we will be happy to share it with him, because this might have just been the tipping point for some of you to finally see the light, hopefully.
Mm.
And that is going to make you get up and do something about it. This was not just meant to be like a promotional podcast episode for the program or a training we are doing. Whatever you choose to do, please use this as a proof that there is a hope. There are ways that can help you work wherever, however you want to do it, but just like go for it. Yes.
Mm.
Don't waste another 35 years of your life, or how many you have, you who is watching or listening. It is possible to make a change in a very short amount of time. And this is why it's worth it. Because how amazing would it be if you would start shining and like beaming and even giggling, and we could see like the physical chills in your body, Sonny. It was so wonderful to watch. I'm so happy we are doing this podcast episode also on video, and that you were so courageous to be even like with your video full on, because this it enabled us to witness even the physical transformation. So
Mm.
thank you very much. And for
My
anybody
pleasure.
who got inspired by there, well, we look forward to seeing you inside. If you decided maybe this might be the way how you want to try it, then come and reach out. Thank you,
I
Sonny.
thought of one more thing, Elena.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
One
Bonus.
more thing. Um, Sometimes with men, we think our problems are unique. And I guess sometimes they are. But the thing I've learned through being with other men in this program is the commonalities, that our core issues are similar, but that is the biggest plus point. That means that it works for people. Men generally, I'm not putting us all in the same box, but there's a lot of commonality. And so a lot of different men have been through this already and are getting results. So that's the last thing to say.
Yep.
It might feel unique, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah. And not just for men, let me add. I
Mm.
repeat that in every single assessment call, even with women. Your life story, your pain, your situation might be unique. Your trauma is not. Your trauma coping mechanisms are not. And that is exactly the good news because there is help. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep going, keep self-healing, keep making your family amazing, and keep us posted. Bye,
Okay.
everybody. Yep. So how amazing was that? If you heard us talking about the daddy tantrum training and you would like to sign up, or you're listening and you would like your husband or partner or brother to sign up, then you are going to get more information about it somewhere around this video, audio, wherever you're listening or watching. There's a link to reach out to our Zen Supermom front desk and register. The Daddy Tantrum training is going to take place now in September 2024. If you're watching, listening to this episode sometime in the future, then anyways, use that email address to contact us again and check for what is the latest, the new date. It's a free training. It's a live training. There is free replay that's going to be provided and available for 48 hours following the live session. So this is your opportunity to come, ask all of your yes but question, get as specific and as theoretical, logical as much as you need to really get this opportunity and find out, well, is there a hope for me too? Maybe. Could I get a similar result to what Sonny just did? And how amazing would it be if I could do that with my family, with my kids, with my partner? So, Daddy Tantrum training, reach out, register, book your seat for free, and I look forward to seeing you there. Super Dad.